At 2 lies per minute, Donald Trump's reality markedly distinguishes itself from the reality we all experience. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe and let's talk about this. So, NPR did a study and they went over Donald Trump's general press conference that he had recently. And they concluded that Donald Trump had lied about over 2 lies per minute when he was talking at the press conference. So that is where Donald Trump's universe is. According to Donald Trump, the people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th are hostages. According to Donald Trump, our country is turning into a shithole country. According to Donald Trump, he is being politically persecuted. According to Donald Trump, all of his cases in all of the multiple jurisdictions are political election interference and selective prosecution without any evidence of them being so. So Donald Trump has created an alternate universe where he is the victim and where he also gets to target and victimize people who he perceives to be his enemies. Donald Trump continues to lie about the 2020 election. Donald Trump continues to lie about what happened in the E. Jean Carroll case. He continues to talk about what happened in the New York criminal case in as broad a term as he can find so as to not provoke any more liability than he's already liable for. In his New York civil fraud case, in his New York criminal fraud case, he has also sent out the false narrative that he somehow won the case uh, uh, in Florida, the classified documents case. Well, in a way, he did win because the case was dismissed before it even went to trial because Eileen Cannon did not think that Jack Smith was legally allowed to bring the case. That will be overturned and the case will be remanded to the District of Florida, Southern District of Florida, and assigned to a different judge. So that case is not over, it's still in appeals. The other case of DC conspiracy is starting up again with the status report happening on August 30th, and then the initial hearing happening on the 5th of September, and then scheduling the evidentiary hearing where the American people will be reminded of what Donald Trump did on and before January 6, 2021. That's something that Donald Trump wants to derail as well. But that is also something that, and then his perfect phone call with the Georgia Secretary of State, for which he's under indictment in Georgia for a racketeering charge. And so he continues to build the false narratives where he says that all of these things are political persecution against him. Then he goes out and he attacks, makes personal attacks against Kamala Harris about her name, mispronouncing her name, disrespecting her in any way, privately calling her a bitch. And I mean, it really, and it shows you how scared Donald Trump is of Kamala Harris because he cannot stand the idea of a powerful woman of color standing up to him. And so JD Vance and Donald Trump have lobbed these. She doesn't have a child, and therefore she doesn't have, any vested interest in our country. All kinds of racial sort of, what is she, black or is she Indian? Trying to uh, sort of divide the multi ethnicity that she embodies. Like someone saying, "Oh, she's the stupidest thing. Oh, she's Jamaican, therefore she's not black." Uh, well, the history and legacy of the Caribbean is linked heavily to slavery and the colonial past, and so that legacy of enslavement, that legacy of the color of your basic, color of your skin, and how the African population got to the Caribbean holds in it the legacy of the colonial past, which translates into the evil of slavery that our country had to deal with for a long time, and the remnants of which, the racism that we experience today, is still fresh and still being exploited by people like Donald Trump. So that is the reality that Donald Trump has created, where he wants to show that if you vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, that they're going to turn the country into a communist country. He's going on and talking about it being Marxist. Then he's going on talking about it being socialist. Mind you, each of these words, Marxist, communist, socialist, they're all connected, but they're all very different. They're all very different in their application. They're all very different in their theory. And the reason why he's throwing out these words is because there are parts of America's population who have been persecuted by people and autocrats in regimes where they corrupted the meanings of Marxism or communism or socialism and turned authoritarianism into what they call socialism. Therefore, socialism has this huge negative impact for some South American Americans. So what it does with the race and the color is divide along the lines of race. They saying, "Oh, she's not completely African American," bringing up the race issue of where she's also Indian. It's meant to divide and conquer, and it's meant to stoke fear in Donald's loyalists of the other, of the people that we don't know, of the people that they are letting in indiscriminately. You realize how this talk, me talking this way, creates an environment of some sort of an urgency that really doesn't exist in the country. What exists in the country is the togetherness of multi-ethnicity. What exists in the country is what we see in Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's campaign, is a hope, is an excitement, is a desire to move past the ugliness of what Donald Trump has brought. The reality is something that Donald Trump and JD Vance and the far right are seeing happening now in a re-energized Democratic Party, thanks in large part to President Biden's sacrifice and stepping aside. It has changed the face of the election. It has changed the face of the election in terms of showing the reality by not being defeated by the morose future fear, gloom, and doom that Donald Trump and his allies keep feeding. And by stepping aside, Joe Biden has revived the Democratic Party and the Democratic message, and has made us into the party that embodies the reality and the hopes and the dreams that every American has. And that is what we need to focus on today. That we need to walk away from that alternate universe. We need to walk away from that alternate Donald-centric universe where everything we hang on what Donald has to say, or how Donald sees it, or listen to his press conferences, even if it's nonsense. You listen to it, and then you create this fake playing field that, oh, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are not giving press conferences, therefore they're not being transparent. Well, they're answering all of our questions. So they are being transparent. Donald Trump is holding press conferences, but isn't answering the questions. That's not being transparent. That's being opportunistic. That's pulling a hoodwink on us. And we need to wisen up. I'm sure that corporate media will not wisen up to this because they like the drama and they like the anxiety and the anticipation and the chaos and the muddling of things. But the closer we get to the election, it is important for us as Americans to focus on the issues and focus on what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are saying are the issues that matter to us instead of going on personal attacks against the political opponents. Of course, with the political opponents like Donald Trump and JD Vance, if you say anything even remotely close to something that would trigger them, like the word sofa, it will trigger them, and therefore that would become bullying for them. So they can dish it out, but they can't take it. And that's the world that they want America to become, where they will be dishing out the ugliness of their autocratic reign, and we just have to take it. And we are not going to let that happen. So thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.